In September 1991, Car and Driver were comparing the new GMC Syclone performance truck with a Ferrari 348Ts, and that was considered a one-off thing. 32 years later, an SUV that can hit 60 in 3 seconds is pretty much a regular thing, and no one gets surprised anymore. It looks like these large and bulky vehicles are taking over not just the mainstream market, they are even suppressing supercars. Lamborghini, Porsche, and Bentley have been offering SUVs for a while. Ferrari, Maserati, and Aston Martin are doing the same. In this video, we will focus on something a little bit less exotic, something more affordable. We will compare two German high-performance SUVs, the BMW XM and Audi RSQ8. One is a plug-in hybrid, other was the fastest production SUV on the planet for 2 years. They belong to different classes, and there is also a notable price gap between them. But somehow, we find this comparison appropriate. So without further ado, let's start with this super SUV showdown. Although essentially the same thing, a high-performance SUV, these two models aren't that similar at all. They are products of two different philosophies. Audi, on one hand, is a typical range-topping version of a regular mid-size luxury SUV, the Q8. For that reason, it shares the base design, both in terms of mechanics and aesthetics. Naturally, the upgrades made it look significantly more attractive, but the contour of the standard model is still there. On the other hand, it's impossible to mistake the XM for any other BMW on the market, because it was designed pretty much from scratch. It is related to models like the X7, but if you take a quick look at the styling, it becomes clear that this SUV is way more exclusive. Some would say it looks too exclusive because, let's be honest, this isn't how you imagined your dream car. We won't go that far to say that only mother could love this face, but something definitely doesn't look right with the styling. But you know what they say, if you want a pretty car, then buy an Italian car. German cars have never been the most aesthetically pleasing, but on the other hand, they have always been a state-of-the-art when it comes to engineering. For that reason, we won't waste your time on irrelevant things anymore. We are getting straight to the point, to talk about engineering and performance. Just a few years ago, this heading would mean something completely different. It would probably be about comparing a supercar with manual transmission and a naturally aspirated engine to something with a turbocharger and automatic gearbox. Today, the latter already became old school because electrification has spread across the supercar universe a while ago. For that reason, the RSQ8 seems pretty straightforward with its 4-liter twin-turbo V8, even though it does have a small electric motor. However, that 48-volt motor is enough just to call this setup a mild hybrid, and its impact on the overall performance is minimal. The XM is something different. It may feature the good old 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8, but the system also includes a massive 25.7 kilowatt-hour battery, as well as an electric motor integrated into the well-known 8-speed ZF transmission with nearly 200 horsepower. Thanks to the generous help that comes from the electric motor, the XM is notably more powerful than the RSQ8. It puts out 644 horsepower, 53 horses more than the Audi's V8. Also, it is worth mentioning that the BMW's large battery provides around 30 miles of range solely on electric power. The RSQ8, on the other hand, features a notably bigger fuel tank of 22.5 gallons compared to XM's 18.2. So, autonomy-wise, each model has its own trump card. Thanks to the electric motor, the BMW is more powerful, but does this make it quicker? Not exactly, because plug-in hybrid technology has its own limiting factors. Of course, we are talking about the large 25.7 kilowatt-hour battery, which is just one reason why the XM is significantly heavier than the RSQ8. The other reason is size, because the XM is a notably bigger vehicle. As we mentioned earlier in the video, the RSQ8 is basically the hottest version of the Q8, so it is essentially a mid-size SUV, with a wheelbase of 117.9 inches and a total length that goes a little bit over 196 inches. The XM may be exclusive in many ways, but it still shares its DNA with the X7. It is a full-size SUV with the same 122.2-inch wheelbase and just a 1.6-inch shorter body than the 3-row SUV. So when you combine the size and a massive battery pack, you get a vehicle that weighs more than 6,000 pounds. The exact number is 6,061. And that's a monumental 571-pound difference compared to the smaller and simpler RSQ8, which is good for about 5,490 pounds. Even if you aren't much into performance cars, you can easily conclude that 53 horsepower isn't enough to cover up such obesity. The numbers are inexorable. The RSQ8's 590 ponies are enough to hit 60 in just 3.4 seconds, thanks to the efficient launch control and well-known Quattro all-wheel drive system. The BMW XM, on the other hand, is a 0.4-second solver. It also has a launch control and xDrive all-wheel drive system, but 3.8 seconds is the best this large SUV can do. The gap only gets larger after a quarter mile. The XM needs 12.2 seconds, while the Audi gets there in 11.6 seconds, at the speed of 119 miles per hour. Finally, there is the matter of top speed, whereas the BMW's plug-in hybrid is rated at 155 miles per hour, while Audi's performance SUV goes all the way up to 190 miles per hour according to the manufacturer. So far, Audi seems to be at an advantage performance-wise, but let's not forget that the new, more powerful version called XM Label Red is coming later this year, with a max output of 738 horsepower, but also with a hefty price of $186,000. And that's not all. The production will be limited to just 500 units globally, and we still don't know how many of them are going to end up in North America. So it's better to stick to the standard XM for now. Younger generations of car enthusiasts probably care too much about all these numbers. Don't get us wrong, they are important, but the overall driving experience goes way beyond acceleration figures and top speed. The handling is what makes a car special, in a combination with competent engine, of course. This leads us to the suspension setup, which is notably different in these two models. The XM is significantly different than the refined X7 and ditches air suspension for a more conventional setup that includes coil springs and adaptive dampers, along with active anti-roll bars. With the sport mode engaged, the XM gets surprisingly close to BMW's sedans and becomes a real joy to drive. In comfort mode, the ride is smooth and relaxed, though not exactly on par with the X7 and its air suspension. The RSQ8 doesn't need any introduction when it comes to handling and overall driving experience. It proved itself 4 years ago at Nürburgring when it earned the title of the fastest SUV in the world, a title that would later be overtaken by RSQ8's close relative, Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT3. It features standard air suspension and rear steering, while you can also opt for a couple of extra features borrowed directly from Lamborghini Urus, such as carbon ceramic rotors, a torque vectoring rear differential, and electronically controlled 48-volt anti-roll bars. We still are not sure what impresses us more. Is it the ability to deal with corners like a genuine supercar, or the super smooth ride in the comfort mode that's on par with most prestigious luxury midsize SUVs on the market? It's hard to decide. It may not keep pace with the RSQ8 on a track or on a straight line, but the XM is still a super exciting SUV to drive. Moreover, it is also quite efficient if we consider the max output. If there's one segment where this BMW dominates the RSQ8, that would be fuel economy. Thanks to the massive support of an electric motor and massive battery, this SUV returns around 18 miles per gallon in the city and 20 miles per gallon on the highway in hybrid mode. For comparison, Audi's high-performance SUV is good for just 13 mpg in the city and 19 mpg on the highway, so it's easy to spot the difference. Moreover, the BMW also benefits from a massive 25.7 kilowatt-hour battery, which provides up to 30 miles of range in the EV mode, with an efficiency that goes around 45 mpg equivalent. The XM comes with a 7.4 kilowatt-hour onboard charger that needs around 3 hours to charge 100% of the battery. Both models have a lot of great things to offer on the inside. Audi is rather typical, and the cabin layout doesn't differ much from the standard Q8. There are some exclusive features such as upgraded heavy bolstered seats, as well as exclusive trim pieces and numerous RS badges around the cabin. Still, the rest looks exactly the same as in the case of the standard Q8, and we don't have a problem with that. Simply put, Audi has found the magic formula for interior designs long ago, and we have always been fans of that combination of conservative aesthetics, high-quality materials, and top-notch tech features. Such a combination is the reason why most Audi interiors age with grace and remain fresh and appealing years after their launch. The XM, on the other hand, plays on the exclusivity card way more. It is an exclusive model in BMW's lineup, so it's not a surprise that the cabin is a solid departure from the X7. Although there is the same curved panel with an infotainment screen and digital instrument gauges, the cabin features a slightly different dashboard design, along with a long list of exclusive features. You can even opt for the vintage-looking leather upholstery from the concept, or a massive, geometric patterned faux suede headliner with fiber optic lighting. The cabin looks high-end, and more upscale compared to Audi's SUV, which is kinda expected, considering the massive price difference. Both models come exclusively as 5-seaters, and despite the longer wheelbase, the XM doesn't feature more legroom than the RSQ8. However, the difference in size becomes obvious once we take a look at other measurements, as the BMW offers more head and shoulder room. As for the cargo area, the XM isn't particularly generous behind the rear seats due to the battery. It offers just 18.6 cubic feet, while the Audi is good for more than 30. Still, BMW offers a little bit more overall cargo volume, 64 compared to 60 cubic feet. To summarize, both models have a lot to offer. Performance or luxury-wise, that is something you would expect from vehicles that are deep into six-figure territory. The RSQ8 starts at around $127,000, and for that money, you get uncompromised performance. The XM is just a tiny bit less impressive in terms of performance, but it belongs to the upper class, with a nicer interior and better fuel economy. It is also notably pricier, with a sticker price of $160,000. What are your thoughts about these two super SUVs? Is the massive price gap justified, or do you think BMW XM has to do better? Is the Audi RSQ8 still a gold standard among high-performance SUVs? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.